Time is 9:39 and I've just got off the bus at Beeley Bridge. Not raining at the moment. Sign says 5 hours to Carrington Hut. Time is 10:23 and finally have GPS signal. The two girls started off pretty smartly once we got off the bus and I decided to follow them. I tried starting the GPS in the forest but never got any satellite signal, but now I'm out on the open grass, have satellite signal now. That's the Crow River coming over there. Not far to Anti-Crow Hut now. I've just come down the first hairy descent of the day. Literally working my way down on the back of my pants, hugging to the rock. Lunch at Anti-Crow Hut on 22nd April. Cooking up some rice. Didn't realise that this rice was cooked, so quite heavy. The packet weighs 250 grams, so I've decided I'll get rid of it as early as possible. Time is 12:45 and finished lunch and all packed up and ready to leave. Well, here I am back at Anti-Crow Hut at 1526. It's a long, embarrassing story, but when I left the hut after lunch, I thought the track followed the floodplain across the river, but that was wrong. The track actually starts behind this hut, but I failed to notice the marker when I was here earlier. So I've wasted a fair bit of time stumbling around through very thick undergrowth, very hard work and tiring. And I thought the best thing to do was to return back to the hut to establish my bearings again, perhaps even stay tonight here, and then head off for Carrington tomorrow morning. Then when I returned back to this hut, I met two European young men who had just come in from Beeley Bridge and were heading for Carrington. I thought I might try following them, but they're very fast, so I decided I'd return back to the hut and have a nice wash and good night's rest and head off for Carrington tomorrow. The logbook says there are mice in this hut, so we'll have to see. Won't be leaving any food out tonight. The time is 7:52 on 23rd April. Just about to leave Anti-Crow Hut. It was a good night's sleep, although I was a little bit warm in the J&H snow bag. Only 10 degrees at dawn this morning in the hut. Heading now to Carrington Hut, and I know the correct path, so hopefully no further problem. This is the path I should have followed after lunch yesterday, but I was so intent on going out onto the river floodplain, didn't even see it. Time is 8:24 and I've reached the Anti-Crow River. Looks like wet feet here. Feel a little bit of water has come in through the ankle of the boots, but not too bad. Time is 8:40 and I've just left the forest and onto the river plain. This cairn behind me seems to be the only marker as to where the track enters the forest again. There's no sign that I can see. The first glimpse of the Waimakariri River. I think the river's quite braided, so this may not be the only stream. Glad we don't have to cross this one. Bit of a conundrum here. Do we go into the forest to get around this, or do we cross the river and go up the centre? Well, this is only a stream, it's not the main river. It does look a bit deep there. Well, that was a knee-deep crossing, so feet pretty well wet now, despite having tightened up the boots and the gaiters. So it's wet feet now. We've got about another couple of kilometres of this before the track joins up into the forest again. Time is 9:13 and looks like another stream of the Waimakariri River to cross. Not so deep here. Time is 10:02 and the sun's starting to shine through the mist. I've just crossed the floodplain of this little creek, and as usual there's no markings to show the path across the floodplain, and in the gloom I missed this red marker and found myself heading along the river. I had start of track marked on the GPS, so I knew it was close. So this time, as soon as I was unsure of the track position in the forest, I returned back to the floodplain, and now it's a bit brighter. The marker was quite obvious. The time is 10:27 and just emerging from the forest. The mist has cleared and it's now quite sunny. Time is 10:38 and according to GPS, Carrington Hut is 1.5 kilometres away. Only 600 metres to Carrington. Time is 11:02 and just arrived at Carrington Hut. Time is 11:19 and lunchtime at Carrington Hut. Probably head up to Barker Hut after lunch, meet up with the two American girls who stayed here last night and have put in a logbook that they're heading up to Barker Hut. Time is 11:44 and leaving Carrington Hut for Barker Hut. The time is 13:47 and according to GPS I'm about 3 kilometres from Barker Hut. Coming up the Whites River has been basically following the river, and from time to time need to get into the river to cross it to find an easier path. I have wet feet, but nice sun and cool breeze. Not sure how long it's going to take to get to the hut. Looks like a bit of climbing ahead. Starting to feel a bit tired now. Time is about 4:45 and GPS says Barker Hut is about 500 metres away. Hope I can see something once I get at the top of this hill. Last night when the sun set at 6 o'clock, the light was failing fast and I was still short of Barker Hut by some 275 metres on the GPS. Travel was very slow because I was feeling tired and all uphill over rocks. Made a few wrong turns. Path is not that clear, only a couple of cairns on rocks which are very hard to miss. I decided to camp at this spot because I had the tent fly and warm sleeping bag, and the weather was fine with no wind. So I pitched my tent fly in what was left of the failing light, and then moved whatever rocks I could to get a flattish spot. Slept okay during the night. Temperature was only 5 degrees Celsius this morning, so it could have been worse. Did not cook anything last night because I only had 1 litre of water with me. Just survived on my nut mixture and a few biscuits. In 2 minds now whether to continue to the hut, which is so close, yet it's still more climbing to get there, or to return back down to Carrington Hut. Have to be out of Arthur's Pass on the 27th, so still a few days to go. I was thinking if I could go to the hut and stay there tonight, which is Friday, and then return to Carrington on the Saturday, and then return to Anti-Crow Hut on the Sunday, or even down to Klondike shelter where I could pitch my tent fly again, and then walk up to Arthur's Pass on the Monday to catch the bus. Barker's hut is up there somewhere. The time is 8:09 and I'm cooking breakfast, which is porridge with some honey and some biscuits. Last night and this morning I found that the yellow brick messages are taking several attempts to get through. Must be that these mountains all around are narrowing the field of view of the sky. Also found the same at Carrington Hut as well. Battery power on the yellow brick is now down to 94%. Time is 8:27 and the sun has just popped up above the mountain tops. Warm rays of the sun are really soaking into blue t-shirt, so really nice and warm now. The time is 10:25, having arrived at Barker Hut about 10 minutes ago. I passed the 2 girls on the way up. I made the correct decision last night to camp where I did, because it was a further 40 minutes at least up to the hut from where I was camping. I find going up the hill quite slow going, not my youth anymore. The 2 girls were heading back to Anti-Crow Hut today. I'll have a look around here and then make up my mind what to do next. The views don't come any better than this. The time is 12:28 and I've just had lunch, which was last night's soup plus I add half, probably nearer 2/3 of that rice with some dried peas and the Chinese sauce. Decided I'll stay here tonight and hike out to Carrington Hut tomorrow morning. Well, it's been a bit of a slog getting up here to Barker Hut. Difficult crossing those avalanche chutes. Rocks are very loose and easy to dislodge. Before that there were countless times had to cross the river, so it was wet feet all the way up here. Fought with the beautiful scenery and beautiful weather that I'd stay here for the remainder of the day and head back to Carrington Hut tomorrow. Altitude of the hut is about 1540 metres. There's mice around in the hut, so have to take precautions. Time is 15:40 and I was just lying on the bed under the sleeping bag when I felt the hut shake and vibrate slightly. Lasted about 8 to 10 seconds. Can only think it was a minor earth tremor. Time is 7:19 and just about to leave Barker Hut. It's now light. Temperature last night was 13 degrees C and 10 degrees this morning. The time is 8:25 and they've dropped 300 metres back down to the river. Across the White River. Time is 11:33 and at the cableway. The time is 12 o'clock and I've just arrived at Carrington Hut. Still raining, been cold, windy, miserable trip down the White River from Barker Hut this morning. Easier following the trail on the way down than it was going up. It smells like the fire's going inside the hut, so hope to get warmed up now. Time is 8:54 and about to leave Carrington Hut with the New Zealanders. The river level's up on what it was in previous days, so we've got to cross it. So it's going to be a bit of an adventure. Rain and wind still continues. It's a nice and warm hut here with the fire going. And good to get to Anti-Crow Hut, or maybe camp at Klondike shelter. Sheltering in the trees before crossing the Harper River. Time is 10:31 and we've just arrived at the point where the river jams right up against a cliff, so we might have to cross the river to go onto an island. This is not the full river, it's an Anna branch, so just wondering how deep it'll be when we get there. Seems there's a track through the bush that goes over the bend in the river at this bluff, and there's a very big waterfall that we come past, and the track crosses at a pool in the middle of this waterfall. Time is 11:03 and I've come down from the track around the base of the cliff and now back on the river bed. It's about 2.7 kilometres to Anti-Crow Hut from here. I should add the temperature's 11 degrees Celsius. Still light drizzle, but sheltered from the wind here. Boots full of water again. It's back into the bush again to get around this bluff. The time is 12:54 and we've finally arrived at Crow Hut. Well, here we are back at Crow Hut at 13:45 on 26 April. The New Zealand party have just left to return back to the car park. Temperature inside the hut is about 13 degrees Celsius. I'm going to stay here for tonight and then head to Arthur's Pass tomorrow. Waiting for the yellow brick to send its signal, taking a while. I must say I feel a little bit relieved to be back here at Crow Hut. This morning when left Carrington, the concern was with the water levels in the Waimakariri River and also Harper and Anti-Crow rivers which feed into the Waimakariri. There's also the bend in the river which abuts a cliff face, which would have meant, as I did on the trip up the Waimakariri, was cutting across one of the inner branches of the river to get onto an island to get around this bluff. However, with the New Zealanders we found that there was a marked with a red triangle track which crossed through the forest just above this bluff, and so we're able to get around this bluff without having to enter the river. It's a big concern for the parents of the young boy Jake, who must be only primary school age, and it would have been a tough ask because the river depth on the way up at this point was about knee deep, and it's obviously much higher now than it was back only a few days ago. So it was with relief that we were able to get around this bluff without having to test our skills with the river. This is 10 to 4 on 26th of April, and your name is Mike, is it?
Miles.
Miles has just arrived. First of all he tried for Crow Hut but found the river too difficult to cross, so he's now returned back to Anti-Crow before striking off up the Waimakariri towards Carrington, and then couldn't find the flood track around that bluff that we passed earlier today, so he's now back and we're here tonight and he's all wet, and we're lighting the fire so he can dry his things out.
You get back, you've got all the clips to get through as well.
Pardon?
You have all the clips as well as the photos to look at.
Yeah. Time is 08:30 and leaving Anti-Crow Hut to head back to Klondike Corner and then up to Arthur's Pass. It's been raining a bit overnight, quite heavily I think, and the river's come right up, so we are not going to be following the river back to Klondike Corner. It's the O'Malley track all the way, and I'm here with Miles, who along with Marcus shared the hut with me last night. With lots of good stories to tell, and been an enjoyable night. Now the fire was a bit of a downer. The wood's pretty wet here, so it didn't survive that long. But nice and comfortable. Most of the things in the pack are dry. At least that's my experience.
It's like this stream up here. bone dry, and I walked right the way up there and skipped the flood trail over there. As you can see, from about 12 hours rainfall, things have changed.
Yeah, you can't even see the bottom of the river. And this is not even the main river.
No, the main branch is way over there.
Yeah.
There's a side floor. Yeah, it was completely... I walked straight up there. That's scary. Got the deepest path as well.
Yeah, nice day for a stroll, isn't it, Miles? More to come. Got a creek here. Well, the track is a creek, really.
Yeah. This was just a trickle.
My foot's just slipped on the mud and I toppled over forwards. That's why I'm a bit muddy. Not injured though. Can just hear the road traffic on the highway, so it can't be far now before we reach the road. The time's 10:48 and we're now back at the Beely Bridge, having come down from Anti-Crow Hut. It's taken probably about 2.5 hours, I think. Been a bit wet and slippery. How have you found it, Morris?
Treacherous.
Yeah.
To say the very least. Good fun though. Still nice and warm, so I'm complaining.
The Minga River is on the left and the Edwards River is coming down on the right.